Welcome to Married to the Boss.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to this week's session. This week, we're going to be talking about how to take an idea that you might have for a business and actually take it to the point of being able to launch it as a business. And I think that's important to actually talk about. We haven't touched on that yet, so we're going to talk about that today.
It's very important.
Yeah, okay. So did you want me to get us started with that? Or?
I think you should.
Okay, all right, I'll get us started.
You look,
I guess we'll swap it out a little bit.
I like your look better than mine, so let's go.
All right. What I want to share a quote with you guys before we get started is from a Christian theologian, pastor, just to be a little bit more simple. His name is Robert Schuller. He said, "The only place where your dream becomes impossible is in your own thinking." And I love that quote because honestly, if you have an idea and you have what it takes to be an entrepreneur, don't waste it by just daydreaming about it. At least give it a shot. So we're going to talk through today the steps of how to even see if that idea is a viable business, and before you actually spend time doing a business plan and all that other stuff that we already touched on. So the first thing that I would suggest is that you really know who you are, know yourself, because it's important to have the actual characteristics of a person that can be successful entrepreneur. That means that the idea that you have has to be something that excites you. For example, we're going to be using Bradley's Bar Park as the model for a business. And in this case, is a business idea. Bradley, we love him very much. So it's a fictitious company for us to be able to use as a basis of our conversation. But it still excites me, even though it's not really a real company, but it's a great idea to the point where I'm already playing around with some of the logos because we're going to be talking about some of those things.
We're not going to be
broadcasts.
setting up a company, but we're just giving you some ideas.
Yes. Thank you for clarifying
Yes.
that. Yeah. The other thing too is that you are probably going to be good at doing your own business if you have mixed feelings about authority. And what I mean by that is you have to be comfortable actually being in an authoritative position, because you're going to have to make some decisions and you have to be okay with the outcome of those decisions. And also, if you sometimes kind of bug the system, that might, I'll admit I was one of those people. That may mean that you may have the quality of being a good, successful entrepreneur. And the other thing also is you want to make sure that you have the desire to achieve and the drive and motivation to be successful. That's really important. And you need those things. And the only reason I'm even saying that is because you really don't know what you're getting into until you're really in that position of trying to survive. And you need all of those qualities in order to make it happen. So above everything else, you really need to know yourself and identify if you have what it takes to actually make it happen. So before you even talk about your idea, we need to make sure that you're able to carry that idea all the way through into creating a business. So once you assess that you have the personality type in order to take that idea into a business, what are the steps? That's what we're going to dive in right now. And the first step is do your homework. You want to make sure that you go out there and investigate if that idea actually has has an opportunity to even become a business. And what you want to do is you want to identify the target audience, and you also want to find out who is already in that space and assess if there is a demand or the opportunity for you to actually break into that market. In our case, Bradley's Bar Park, I've done some of the homework. Bradley's Bar Park would be meeting a need because we actually live in a community where there's a lot of homeowners that have dogs and they don't really have that service available to them. So I identify my target audience, meaning the immediate 5-mile radius from our home. And the need is that they have dogs that either need to be walked or that they need a place to stay when the owners go to work, or perhaps they may have needs, that we could provide through Bradley's Bar Park. And the other thing too is you have to be flexible and actually open-minded to some of the feedback that you're going to get back when you actually reach out to those people and find out how open they would be to the service that you would provide. And based on that feedback that you get, you want to also experiment and actually go back and tweak your business idea and make those adjustments and changes based on that feedback to make sure that you're going to be successful. An example of that might be, for example, in the experimentation mind frame, you may want to offer something to get them to provide the service. Maybe offer a couple of initially a couple of the neighbors. I'm going to say, hey, look, can I take care of your puppies or your dogs for the next couple of days and see how that goes. And if you feel comfortable with that, let me know your feedback, and I'll do it for nothing just to give you an idea of what my services are going to be. And whatever that feedback comes back, of course, I have to be willing to make the adjustments and based on whatever my potential customer might tell me in return. And once we do all of that, it's not just me, sorry. I'm not the only one that loves Bradley. We would also, after that, just actually build the brand. And what I mean by that is, even though we're not getting into the fancy business plan and all of that stuff that we already talked about, we're actually talking something as simple as creating a logo. And honestly, you can do this for free. I did all of these samples for free. And the reason why you want to at least do a logo as far as branding is it gives that idea of some personality, something for that potential target audience to actually wrap their head around that and actually follow the conversation. And you can also use that logo to just create some social media profiles just initially. Again, this you're not doing a huge marketing campaign. This is just to test the waters. And we're not doing a website, none of that. We're just doing something that's free, like the social media profiles. And also maybe create some business cards at home and attend some networking events, again, to do more homework and find out if there's more of a casting a wider net, if you will, to find out if they're how viable that target audience is long term, because you also want to make sure that your idea can actually carry you for years in the future. So that is the 5 steps in a nutshell. And the last step, and it's really more of a suggestion, is to always keep your day job. You're going to have to pay for your bills while you're trying to find out if the idea is actually even viable, and you want to do that at least until your business idea can actually pay for itself or pay for your bills as well. So.
Okay. Well, I'm going to start out with a quote too.
Oh, good.
My quote is pertaining to sports, because I'm going to compare sports to business in a minute.
Okay.
And I have this little plaque that I've had for 20 years that says you can't steal second with your foot still on first base. Mm-hmm. And to me, that is really what it takes to start a business. I mean, you are not going to make that big decision unless you give yourself a chance. Mm-hmm. And that chance is you're going to have to steal and try to get to second. And that's really what business is about. There's a lot of things that have to be done with starting a business, and your idea is going to be biased to you. You're going to think it's the greatest because it's your idea. Mm-hmm. But there is so many other things that you have to consider in regards to that idea. And to me, I've always used the term pipe dream. Is it a real dream or is it a pipe dream? You know, so a pipe dream is just like up in the sky. Is this something that we really want to do? Can we make it happen? Or a real dream is you really believe in it, you're passionate about it, and you take that idea and you decide, okay, I'm getting off of first and I'm running to second base. Mm-hmm. So that comparison to sports and business, to me, they're the same. And that is, if you're going to start a business, you need to be prepared to work extremely hard. If you are a kid, 10, 12 years old, or even in high school, and you ask that kid playing whatever sport, football, basketball, baseball, soccer, whatever it is, you know, do you see yourself playing college ball, or do you see yourself playing in the major leagues? They all think that they're major league players. They all think they're great and wonderful and the best on the team, and in fact, most of them are not. Mm-hmm. It's the same as business. If you want to hit it big time in business, you've got to really work hard on the basics, and you've got to be very, very disciplined with your processes. And what Mayra brought up are some of those processes that you have to put in place early on. The logo that she showed you, Mayra can do Photoshop. Maybe some of you can't do Photoshop. So then what do you do to put a logo? You don't have to go out and pay somebody $500,000, $2,000 to put a logo together.
Oh no, I did that for free. I didn't use Photoshop.
I know you did.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, she didn't do Photoshop. Whatever she did, but it was free. So there are free tools, but there's also, you can go out and get a logo, pay a freelancer $19, $20 for a logo that they'll turn it around in a week. And they'll give you all kinds of different options for you to choose your logo. So you give all your input. So technology and the internet today is making it so much easier to start a business, even when we started our first business over 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. So you have to take advantage of some of those tools. So, and another thing you brought up was research. I mean, you really have to, when you make that decision that you're going to move forward, you have to try it out on somebody. Mm-hmm. So I know that you mentioned that. But you got to find a family or friend that you can try the service or the product out on them. And just to kind of digress a little bit in regards to the pipe dream and a real dream, I'm sure many that are listening to this podcast have watched Shark Tank, but you can really tell at the very beginning who's got a pipe dream, which is crazy, and who's got a real dream, and they're passionate about it, whether it's a product or whether it's service. So your research, going back to research, is going to be to get a hold of a friend or a family member, and you're going to take in this case, you're going to take their dog, and you're going to treat that dog like it's your dog. And part of that whole process is not only to find out if there's a market for you to build your idea, but it's also going to either excite you more or it's going to possibly remove some of that excitement. Those are the things that you have to find out when you get a hold of a family member or a friend to take advantage of their dog. Yes. I don't know how else to say it, but that's really what it's going to help you determine what your next move is. Mm-hmm. So, it goes back to business and sports. I'm going to use that comparison because in business, you got to really, really work those basics. In sports, you got to work those basics on a regular basis. Mayra's a runner, and used to be a runner, but if she would just run once a week versus running every day, your body can't handle it. It's no difference in your brain. You've got to keep that fresh. Mayra used to say something all the time, and I think it's really kind of important that, and we may have mentioned this on another podcast, but you either have that passion for whatever it takes or you don't. That is really what you've got to be. That's what's got to be driving you, whatever it takes. And so you're gonna, getting that start, getting you out the door to say, okay, let's go, let's try this thing, let's see what happens. Okay, this was a good first one. Let's do this with another friend, and this was really good. You need to go through that exercise because it's going to give you the confidence about your business and your service. And again, it's going to give you a little direction for your next step. So with all that being said, it's important that while you're doing all of that, there's other things that have to happen on the back end. And that is, you got to make sure that you're protected with your company name. You got to make sure that you're protected with trademarks. All those things are going to be important, and you're doing it at this time because, remember, you're excited. It seems to be working. People like it when I take their pet and I take them to the park, and I'm gone for an hour. I think we can build a business. Okay, well, there's other things that have to be done in addition to a logo that you're going to have to set up for your business. And so it is multitasking. I know when you look that up, it's probably, Maya's always told me it's not good to multitask. But when you're starting a business, you really don't have a choice. You're going to have to set your mind that, okay, and if you're doing this as a couple, which is even better, then again, you have to provide direction called communicate to each other that, okay, I need you to do this. You take the dog this time, and I'll do all the paperwork, and you work together on coming up with a solution to really get yourself ready for the next step. Hopefully that makes sense. Did I say anything out of school, or did you want to add to
No, the only thing that I would, at least from my point of view, is I personally would not spend that much time on the legal aspect of it, just because from my point of view, I'm just trying to make sure that it could even be a business. So I wouldn't want to spend any time or money on the legal stuff. That's just me.
And that's unusual for you because you are the legal administrator. And you love doing that stuff. Well, I'm just joking. She hates doing that stuff.
No, but I'm pretty...
but you started really early with our companies.
Well, because...
You remember?
Yes, but software is a completely different animal, and it requires a lot of tactical approaches. And you have got to be laser focused.
I agree with you. And that's why it's important that even though we're using Bradley's Bark Park as an example... We have a large audience out there that could be doing all types of different businesses that they have to take certain things from the legality side into consideration and figure out when they're going to pull that trigger.
I like that we're actually having a moment behind the camera in front of our audience where we're not disagreeing, but we're also not agreeing. So it's kind of like a neutral point.
No, we're kind of agreeing to disagree.
That's going to be great.
Right.
We're going to talk about that
agreeing to
in a
disagree.
Future session. But no, it's just because to me it's just an idea. I want to see. I'm all about efficiency. I'm an efficiency nut, so I will not waste time on something. Excuse me, not so much waste time. I won't put time into something that is not going to provide me with a return on my time investment. So my concept of playing around with the idea to see if it even has legs to stand on its own is I'm gonna throw what toilet paper, pardon the example, but I'm gonna throw that on the wall and see if it sticks. And if it sticks to the wall, yes, then I'm gonna go run with it. But I just don't like to waste time.
That might be an idea for you.
I don't like to waste time.
Get toilet paper real wet. Throw it against the wall, and that might be able to stop leaks in the future.
Oh, true. Very true. But anyway, and if I think that it's going to be, then I would do the legal stuff.
Okay, well, I think that we've agreed to agree.
Okay. Yeah, we agree, because I agree with your steps. We agree.
Okay.
It's hard for me to disagree with you unless it's something really deep.
I know, it's difficult, but sometimes we have to. Okay, let's let these.
So I think we've covered our points.
Yep.
So I guess we'll just wrap it up then. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with it and I'll let you kind of close with it. But if you really don't take that big first step, so let's use baseball as an example. Going back to stealing second, you can't get off 2 inches off of first base if you're going to steal second. And for those that understand baseball, you know what I mean. You're going to have to take more than a foot or 2 feet. If you really want to steal, you got to be aggressive. You got to want it. So that first step in business, don't just, dabble your toes in the water and say, let's give this a try. If you believe in it, go for it.
I agree because I agree. And to close it, my point would be to circle back to my first point, and that is know yourself. You cannot, if you don't have the guts to take your feet away from, to go back to your analogy, off the base, more than 2 inches where you can actually have a nice good lead into the next base, forget about it. Don't even try it, because you really have to have guts and grit and stamina, and in addition to passion.
And I will just add something to that, is that if you don't take the right lead off of first base or in business, you're going to be out.
Yes. Because there's somebody there waiting to call you out.
Yep.
Called competitor.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
That's it. We're done. See you guys next time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
That's this week's episode of Married to the Boss podcast.